Hey guys, tonight we are walking into the fire. The storm is breaking the branches in the forest outside, but in here the heat is constant. We are stepping into the medieval glassblower's workshop. We are going to watch solid sand turn into liquid light. This is a story about breath, fire, and the flow of the melt. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. Now, feel the warmth on your face, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The path through the forest is dark. It is the kind of darkness that exists only when storm clouds swallow the entire sky. Above, the clouds move in thick, rolling layers, and the rain falls in sheets that bend sideways in the wind. The trees around us are old, impossibly old, with trunks that are wider than a man is tall. They sway and creak with the storm. Branches snap and fall. The wind howls through the canopy like something alive, like something angry. The rain soaks through everything. Your cloak clings to your body. Your feet sink into mud that seems to have no bottom, pulling you down with each step, trying to keep you in the forest, asking you to turn back. But you don't turn back. You have come too far for that. You have heard the stories. You have heard the whispers in the village about the glassblower who lives deep in the forest, in a hut that glows at night like a captured star. They say he works with fire. They say he can see things that other men cannot. They say he breathes life into sand. So you keep walking, even as the storm rages around you, even as the lightning splits the sky into fragments of white light, illuminating the forest for just a moment before plunging it back into darkness. And then, through the trees, you see it. A faint orange glow. It is not the brightness of the lightning. It is something steadier, something constant, something that radiates from within the hut itself. The glow pulses like breathing. It breathes, it lives. And as you get closer, you begin to feel the warmth on your skin. The warmth fights against the cold rain. The warmth wins. Your clothes begin to dry. The storm recedes somehow, as if the heat from the hut pushes the storm away, creating a circle of relative peace in this chaotic forest. You are at the threshold now. The door is heavy wood, reinforced with iron bands. The heat radiating from the crack underneath is so intense you can feel it on your face, on your exposed skin. Your breath comes out in small clouds as if you are breathing into cold air, but you are not in cold air anymore. The cold is behind you outside. Inside, there is only heat. You push the door open. The wall of heat hits you immediately. It is a solid thing, a physical force that seems to push back against you, that fills your lungs, that makes you gasp. For a moment, you cannot breathe. For a moment, your eyes water and you cannot see. But gradually, your body adjusts. Your eyes adjust. And what emerges from the blur is a sight that will stay with you forever. The furnace dominates the space. It is enormous. It fills the center of the hut like a great beast, like a sleeping dragon that has never woken and never will. The heat radiates from it in waves. You can see the heat shimmer the air around it, can see it distort the space itself. The roar it makes is not a quiet sound. It is constant, a deep, rumbling roar that seems to come from the earth itself, from some ancient place deep underground. It is the sound of fire consuming itself, of flames feeding on flames, of infinite heat concentrated in this single space. The walls of the hut are blackened with soot. They are slick with heat and moisture. The floor is packed earth, covered with a fine layer of white ash. There are tools hanging on the walls. There are buckets filled with water. There are long metal rods leaning in corners. There are benches and tables and surfaces covered with the detritus of the glassblower's craft. But none of this matters now. None of this can be seen clearly. There is only the furnace. There is only the roar. There is only the heat. The master glassblower is working. He is a man of perhaps 50 years, though it is hard to tell in the flickering light. His skin is weathered and scarred. His hair is pulled back and covered with ash. He is shirtless, his upper body bare to the intense heat. His chest is marked with old burn scars, pale lines that crisscross his muscles like a map of past mistakes and close calls. His arms are powerful, corded with muscle, that has been built through years of lifting heavy tools and heavy glass. He moves through the hut with a purpose that you do not understand, a sequence of actions that seems random until you realize it is not random at all. It is rhythm. It is pattern. It is dance. Now focus on the furnace itself. Really see it. It is constructed of clay and stone. The outer wall is built from carefully stacked stones, held together with clay mortar that has been baked hard by years of intense heat. The stones are uneven, each one placed to support the others, creating a structure that looks almost organic, like a growth rather than a construction. The outer layer is smooth from long years of use, polished by the passage of hands, worn and weathered and beautiful in its age. But the real genius is inside. The furnace is built with three separate chambers. The bottom chamber is where the fire burns. The fuel goes here. Wood is fed into this chamber, or in winter, charcoal. The flames consume it and create heat. The heat rises. It fills the space. It becomes the temperature that makes glass liquid. This bottom chamber is sealed except for small openings where air can be drawn in to feed the flames, keeping the fire alive, keeping the heat constant. Above the fire chamber is the middle chamber. This is where the crucibles sit. These are the vessels that hold the molten glass. They are made of clay, special clay that will not crack under the intense and constant heat. The crucibles are large, holding perhaps 200 pounds of molten glass. The glass inside them is never solid. It is always in motion. It is always flowing. It is always alive. The heat from the fire chamber below keeps the glass in this perfect state, neither too cool, which would make it stiff and hard to work with, nor too hot, which would destroy it entirely and make it smoke and burn away. And then there is the glory hole. This is the opening in the front of the furnace. This is what glows so brightly that the hut itself seems to shine from within like a lantern. The glory hole is the mouth of the furnace. It is the opening to the heart of the fire. When you look into it, you see pure light. You see orange. You see yellow. You see white. You see the color of infinite heat. The opening is roughly circular, perhaps 18 inches across, and the light that pours from it is so bright and so pure that it seems impossible that your eyes can even look at it. Yet you must look at it. You cannot look away from it. It is beautiful. It is terrifying. It is hypnotic. The master glassblower moves toward the preparation table now. Laid out before him are the ingredients of his art. They look simple. They are not simple. They are magic, waiting to be transformed. There is sand. It is river sand, fine and pale, collected from a specific location in the river where the water moves in a particular way and deposits the finest particles. This sand is pure. It is silica. It is the fundamental material of glass. Without sand, there is no glass. With sand alone, there is still only sand. But sand is the foundation. Sand is the beginning. Beside the sand is ash. This ash comes from ferns. The ferns are burned specifically for this purpose. The ash is rich with potash, with the minerals that the glassblower needs. This ash will lower the melting point of the sand. Without the ash, the sand would require a temperature so high that it would be nearly impossible to achieve. But with the ash, the sand melts at a temperature that the furnace can provide. The ash is the secret. The ash is the alchemy. And there is lime. Limestone, heated until it becomes lime, which is white and caustic and strange. The lime stabilizes the glass. Without lime, the glass would be fragile. It would crack. It would fall apart. The lime makes the glass strong. The lime makes the glass last. Master glassblower measures these ingredients with his hands. He does not use scales. He does not need them. His hands know. His hands remember every batch he has ever made. His hands are part of the equation. He takes sand. A handful, another handful, a third handful. He mixes it with smaller portions of ash and lime. He mixes it with his fingers, breaking up any clumps, ensuring that everything is distributed evenly. The sand is cool in his hands. The ash is light and fine. The lime is slightly gritty. He moves toward the crucible now, carrying a metal bowl filled with his mixture. The crucible sits in the middle chamber of the furnace, in the heart of the heat. He approaches it carefully. The heat intensifies as he gets closer. His skin flushes red from the radiation. His eyes narrow against the intensity. When he reaches the crucible, he pours the mixture into it slowly and carefully. The sand and ash and lime tumble into the molten glass that already exists in the crucible. It lands in the glowing surface. For a moment, it sits there, not melting, not yet. And then, as you watch, it begins to melt. The edges of the sand grains soften. They blur. They begin to flow into the molten glass around them. Within seconds, the individual grains are gone. They have become part of the liquid. They have become glass. This is alchemy. This is the moment when solid becomes liquid. This is the moment when sand becomes something else entirely. The transformation is not gradual, it is sudden, it is complete. The sand does not slowly turn into glass. It leaps from solid to liquid. It joins with the molten mass. And now it is part of the whole. It will cool and harden and become glass. But for now, for this moment, it is liquid. It is molten. It is flowing. The master glassblower steps back. He moves to the wall, where the tools hang. The most important tool is the pipe. It is a simple thing. It is a hollow tube made of iron. It is perhaps 4 feet long, perhaps 5. The walls of the tube are thick, strong, capable of withstanding the immense temperatures and stresses that it will undergo. The end of the tube that will be dipped into the molten glass is open. The other end, the end that will be held in the glassblower's mouth, is slightly flared, providing a comfortable grip for the lips and teeth. He reaches for the pipe. The moment his hand closes around it, you can feel his respect for it. It is not just a tool. It is an extension of himself. It is the instrument through which his breath will become glass. He lifts it from where it hangs. It is heavy. The weight is immediate and significant. This is not a light thing. This is iron. This has been heated and cooled countless times. This has been tempered and beaten and shaped. This is strong. He carries the pipe toward the furnace. As he walks, he trails it slightly behind him, keeping it away from his body, keeping its heat separate from his own heat. But even held like this, the heat from the pipe is significant. You can feel it radiating from it, even from where you stand watching. The iron of the pipe is hot. It has spent so much time near the furnace that it has absorbed heat into itself. It is a reservoir of heat. It is a tool that is never truly cool. He approaches the furnace now. He approaches the glory hole. He approaches the opening to the heart of the fire. He takes a deep breath. This breath is important. This is not a casual breath. This is a conscious action. This is the moment before everything else. He fills his lungs with air. His chest expands. He holds it for a moment. And then, slowly, he begins to move the pipe forward, toward the glory hole, toward the crucible inside, toward the molten glass that waits. The tip of the pipe enters the light. Immediately, it begins to glow. The iron of the pipe, which was already hot, begins to heat further. The end of the tube glows first. It glows orange. It glows red. It glows the color of heat itself. As the pipe goes deeper, more and more of it glows. The iron becomes liquid to the eye, wavering and flowing with heat even though it remains solid. The glass behind it becomes visible, the molten glass inside the crucible. It is bright. It is alive. It is moving. He twists the pipe as he dips it. The twist is gentle. It is controlled. He is not forcing the glass onto the pipe. He is inviting it. He is dancing with it. The twist causes the molten glass to cling to the end of the tube. It wraps around the metal like honey. It clings to the iron like it wants to cling. The glass is glowing bright orange, almost yellow where it is hottest. As more glass clings to the pipe, the glow intensifies. The blob at the end of the pipe grows larger. He continues to twist. He continues to dip. The glass that coats the end of the pipe is now the size of a grapefruit. It is glowing so brightly that it casts its own light. Your eyes, which have adjusted to the bright light of the furnace, adjust again to this new source of light. The glass on the pipe is beautiful. It is perfect. It is liquid. It is solid. It is both and neither at the same time. He begins to withdraw the pipe. The motion is smooth and deliberate. He pulls back slowly, drawing the pipe out of the glory hole, drawing it away from the furnace. As he does, the glass that coats the end of the pipe comes with it. It comes willingly. It is now fused to the iron. It is held to the iron by the force of adhesion and heat, but it will remain. It will not fall away. Not yet. The pipe is now fully withdrawn from the furnace. The glass is fully exposed to the air, though the air inside the hut is so hot that there is no real air, only heat and light and the shimmer of thermal radiation. The glass begins to cool, just barely, just slightly. The bright orange begins to shift. The outer surface of the molten blob begins to develop a skin. This skin is still hot. This skin is still glowing red. But it is the beginning of solidification. It is the beginning of change. The master glassblower turns now. He walks toward the marver. The marver is his next tool. It is not a tool in the traditional sense. It is a flat stone table, smooth and worn. The surface of the marver has been polished by countless hours of use. It is smooth as glass itself, worn by the friction of hot glass being rolled across it again and again and again over the years. The marver is placed at a comfortable working height, just above waist level. It is the workspace where the glass will be shaped. He approaches the marver. The blob of molten glass on the end of the pipe is now glowing a deep orange red. The outer surface has cooled enough that it will hold its shape for a moment, but inside, the glass is still molten. It is still flowing. It is still alive. He brings the pipe down toward the surface of the marver. The end of the pipe, with the blob of glass attached, touches the stone surface. The moment of contact is crucial. The glass touches the marver and immediately begins to flatten slightly. The weight of the glass, even soft and hot, exerts a pressure downward. The flat surface of the marver exerts a pressure upward. The glass between these two forces begins to spread. It begins to flow out from the center point of contact, creating a wider, flatter shape. The master glassblower begins to roll the pipe. This is rolling, but it is not the rolling of a wheel. It is the rolling of the pipe itself. The pipe, which is resting on the marver with the glass blob pressed against it, is rotated. The master glassblower's hands grasp the pipe and turn it, rolling it back and forth, rolling it across the marver. As he does this, the glass spreads further. It flattens further. It becomes wider and thinner. Roll smooth, roll. The motion is repetitive. The motion is meditative. The motion is constant. His hands know this motion. His body knows this motion. He has done this thousands of times. His muscles remember. His instincts guide him. He does not think about it. He simply does it. Roll, smooth, roll. As he rolls, the outer surface of the glass continues to cool. The bright orange fades slightly. The color shifts toward red. The outer skin, which was glowing brightly, becomes a deeper red. The lighter red color that lies just beneath becomes visible. The distinction between outer skin and inner heat becomes apparent. The glass is beginning to take a shape. A ball of molten glass is becoming a cylinder. A shapeless lump is becoming something with form and purpose. He continues to roll. His attention is focused. His hands are steady. There is no hesitation. There is no wasted motion. Every movement serves a purpose. Every roll of the pipe shapes the glass. Every contact with the marver teaches the glass where to flow. The marver and the pipe and his hands and the glass itself are in conversation. They are working together. They are creating something. The outer skin of the glass is now a deep red. The interior still glows orange, still flows, still has heat and fluidity. But the division between hot and less hot is now visible. The outer skin has solidified enough that you can see it has shape. The glass on the end of the pipe is no longer a blob. It is becoming a pear. It is becoming a teardrop. It is becoming something with intention. He lifts the pipe. The glass clings to the marva for just a moment. There is a slight adhesion, a slight stickiness that the heat creates. But the weight of the glass and the lift of the pipe overcome this adhesion. The glass comes free of the marva. It comes up with the pipe, still attached, still molten, still glowing red. He holds the pipe before him. The glass is now perhaps the size of a small apple. The outer surface is red. The interior is orange. The shape is beginning to make sense. The glass is no longer formless. It has structure. It has intention. It is becoming something that could become a vessel. It could become a bowl. It could become a window. It is not yet any of these things, but it is capable of becoming any of them. The room is quiet now. The roar of the furnace continues, constant and eternal, but it has faded into the background of your consciousness. All your attention is on the pipe and the glass. All your attention is on what is about to happen. The master glassblower has moved to a different position. He has turned slightly. He has adjusted his grip on the pipe. He is preparing for the next step, the breath step, the most delicate step. He looks at the glass. He examines it. He turns the pipe slowly, rolling it between his palms, looking at the glass from different angles. He is checking it. He is feeling it. He is communicating with it through observation and intuition. He is asking it if it is ready, and apparently it is. Apparently the glass is ready. He brings the end of the pipe to his lips. This is a moment of trust. This is a moment of connection. The open end of the pipe, the end that is not dipped into molten glass, comes to his mouth. His lips part slightly. They find the opening of the pipe. They create a seal. His mouth closes around the end of the pipe. Now his lungs are connected to the interior of the tube. Now his breath is connected to the glass. He takes a breath in. He gathers air. He draws air deep into his lungs. He fills them completely. The air is hot. It burns slightly in his throat and lungs, but this is familiar. This is expected. This is part of the process. He holds the breath for just a moment. He gathers himself. He focuses his intention. He places his awareness on the glass. He connects with it. And then he exhales. It is a gentle exhalation. It is not forceful. It is not violent. It is slow and controlled and intentional. The air moves from his lungs through the pipe and into the interior of the hollow glass blob on the end of the pipe. As the air enters, it pushes against the inside surface of the glass. It expands the space. It creates pressure from within. The glass, which is still hot enough to be somewhat fluid, begins to yield to this pressure. It begins to expand. A bubble forms inside the glass. The bubble starts small. It is a tiny pocket of air in the center of the molten glass. As his exhalation continues, the bubble grows. It expands. It pushes the glass outward in all directions. The glass stretches to accommodate the growing bubble. The outer surface of the glass bulges outward. The shape changes. What was roughly spherical becomes less regular. It begins to have an opening, a mouth, like a small egg with a hole in one end. He continues to breathe. His exhalation is steady. It is constant. The air flows out of his lungs, down the pipe, and into the bubble. The bubble continues to grow. The outer surface of the glass continues to expand. The opening continues to widen. The thin wall between the outside air and the inside bubble becomes thinner and thinner. You can see the color differentiation. The outer surface is a deep red now, cooling as it expands. The thin wall between inside and outside is bright orange, hot and glowing. The interior, where the air bubble is shadowed, dark by comparison to the bright outer surface. The shape is becoming a bowl now. The shape is becoming an open vessel. The glass is being shaped by his breath and his intention. The glass is becoming what he wants it to become. The interaction between his will and the glass's nature is creating form, is creating beauty, is creating purpose. He continues to breathe. The bubble grows larger. The vessel deepens. The walls thin further. The color of the glass becomes more complex. The outer surface transitions from bright red to darker red to orange as the heat remains but the cooling continues. The glass is responding to every variable: the temperature, the humidity, the rate of his breath, the pressure of the air, the thickness of the walls. Everything affects everything else. Everything is connected. The glassblower is not imposing his will on the glass. He is in dialogue with it. He is allowing it to show him what it wants to become. His breath slows. The exhalation becomes gentler. The pressure inside the bubble decreases slightly. The rate of expansion slows. The bubble reaches a size that seems right. The vessel reaches a depth that seems appropriate. The opening reaches a width that seems intentional. The shape is complete. The vessel is formed. The glass, which was sand moments ago, which was molten glass moments before that, is now becoming a vessel. It is becoming a bowl. It is becoming a thing of purpose and beauty. He stops breathing. The air stops flowing. The bubble stops expanding. The shape is set. The glass, still hot, still glowing red, still somewhat malleable, is no longer being altered by his breath. It is in a transition state. It is cooling. It is beginning to harden. It is beginning to become solid. But it is not solid yet. The walls of the vessel are still hot. The surface is still glowing red. The inside is still warm. But the moment of creation is ending. He holds the pipe steady. He allows the vessel to cool slightly more. The red deepens. The glow softens. The shape becomes clearer. The vessel, which moments ago was impassable, which moments ago was formless, is now real. It is tangible. It is unmistakable. This is a bowl. This is a vessel. This is an object that has purpose and presence and beauty. The roar of the furnace fills the space again. Your attention, which has been completely focused on the pipe and the glass and the act of creation, suddenly expands again to include the entire hut. The heat, the light, the constant roar, the walls of the hut glowing with reflected light, the other tools hanging in the shadows, the buckets of water waiting for their moment, the shelves of finished vessels in the corners, cooling vessels that have been made by this same process, again and again and again, over years and decades. The master glassblower holds the pipe before him. The vessel on the end of the pipe is now a deep red, moving toward brown. The outer surface is beginning to solidify fully. The inner surface is still warm, still glowing slightly. The opening of the vessel is clearly defined. The walls are even and smooth, shaped by the breath and the heat and the marva. This is a vessel that could hold water. This is a vessel that could hold wine. This is a vessel that could hold whatever someone wants to place inside it. This is a vessel that will last for years. It will last for decades. It will last for centuries, perhaps, if it is treated gently. He brings the pipe to a metal rod that leans against the wall. The rod is a punty rod, a gathering rod, similar to the blowing pipe but thicker and without the hollow interior. He uses the punty rod to catch and support the vessel. The hot point of the punty rod is pressed against the bottom of the vessel, the side that is opposite the opening. The contact is careful. The pressure is firm. The glass, still hot, still slightly soft, yields to the pressure. A small amount of glass from the vessel flows and fuses with the glass on the end of the punty rod. The connection is made. The vessel is now supported by the punty rod. He begins to separate the blowing pipe from the vessel. This is a careful operation. The vessel is attached to the pipe at the opening. He cannot simply pull the pipe away. That would tear the vessel. Instead, he holds the pipe and rotates the punty rod. The rotation causes the neck of the vessel, where it attaches to the blowing pipe, to undergo stress. The glass, which is beginning to solidify, begins to fracture. A crack forms at the connection point. The glass separates. The opening is free. The pipe comes away cleanly, leaving the vessel attached only to the punty rod now. He sets the blowing pipe aside. It will cool eventually. It will be cleaned. It will be used again, many times, thousands of times perhaps. The pipe is tireless. The pipe is eternal in the way that tools are eternal. It outlasts the hands that hold it. It outlasts the glassblower. It continues. It is used by others. It continues to create. The master glassblower now holds the punty rod, with the vessel attached to its end. He carries it across the hut, away from the furnace, toward a corner where other vessels are placed. The vessel is still warm. It is still glowing slightly. The red is deepening, becoming darker as the temperature continues to drop. The cooling will take time. The glass will be unstable for a while. If it cools too quickly, it will crack. If it cools too slowly, it will remain too soft and will lose its shape. There is a balance. There is a specific rate of cooling that the glass must follow. The master glassblower knows this. His experience guides the process. He places the vessel on a special shelf, a cooling shelf, where the temperature is warmer than the outside air, but cooler than near the furnace. The vessel will rest here. It will cool slowly and evenly. The stress in the glass will equalize. The atoms will settle into their correct positions. The vessel will become solid. It will become strong. It will become permanent. And then, when it has cooled completely, when hours have passed and the vessel is finally at room temperature, it will be removed from the punty rod. A small amount of glass work will smooth the bottom, the point where the punty rod was attached. The vessel will be complete. It will be finished. It will be ready to be used. But for now, in this moment, the creation is done. The master glassblower stands in the hut, surrounded by the heat and the light and the roar of the furnace. He looks at the cooling vessel on its shelf. He looks at the furnace, still roaring, still burning, still hot and full of molten glass waiting to be transformed. He looks at the tools hanging on the walls. He looks at the preparations table, waiting for the next batch of sand and ash and lime. He looks at the marva, waiting to shape the next vessel. And he knows that he will do this again. Tomorrow, the day after, every day, again and again and again. The cycle continues. The furnace never stops. The heat is eternal. The glass is always waiting to be shaped. The vessels are always waiting to be created. The breath is always ready. The hands are always prepared. The knowledge is always present, stored in muscles and memory and intuition. He turns back toward the furnace. The heat radiates toward him. The glow of the glory hole illuminates his face. The roar of the fire fills his ears. This is his world. This is his workshop. This is where sand becomes glass, becomes vessels, becomes beauty, becomes permanence. He reaches for the blowing pipe again. He reaches for the blowing pipe again. The vessel has been set aside to cool, and the furnace continues its eternal roar. The master glassblower moves with the confidence of a man who has done this thousands of times, whose body remembers every motion, whose hands know exactly where they must go and what they must do. He gathers another blob of glass from the crucible, using the same technique as before. The twist, the dip, the careful withdrawal. Another sphere of molten orange glass clings to the end of the pipe, glowing with heat and potential. This time, however, the work will be different. This time he is creating something with a stem, a drinking vessel, a goblet, something that requires a different technique, a different approach, a different conversation with the glass. He brings the pipe to the marva again and rolls. The glass spreads. The outer surface cools and darkens. The rhythm is the same. Roll, smooth, roll. His hands move with meditative precision. There is no hurry. There is no urgency. The glass will cool when it cools. The glass will be ready when it is ready. Time moves differently here in the workshop. Time moves at the pace of heat and cooling and transformation. The vessel begins to take shape. A bulbous base forms, wider and heavier than the vessel from before. This will be the bowl of the goblet, the part that will hold the liquid, the part that the drinker's lips will touch. The base is thick. The walls are sturdy. This is not a delicate thing. This is a functional object designed to survive years of use, Years of being picked up and put down, years of being washed and handled and passed between hands. The master glassblower makes a decision. The base is shaped enough. The next phase begins. He stands from where he has been working at the marver. He moves to the center of the hut, to a special chair. This is not a normal chair. It is a work chair designed specifically for glass blowing. It has arms that extend out on either side, arms that are smooth and slightly curved. These are not arms for resting. These are arms for working. These are arms that will become part of the glass blowing process itself. He sits in the chair. The pipe rests across the arms of the chair, balanced carefully. The blob of molten glass hangs at one end, suspended above the ground. The heat radiates from it, warming the air around it, creating a shimmer of thermal distortion. The master glassblower adjusts his position. He finds the balance point. He makes sure the pipe is stable, that it will not roll, that it will not slip. And then he spins the pipe. Using his hands and his body rotating at the waist, he causes the entire pipe to spin. The rotation is slow at first, deliberate, controlled. The pipe rolls along the smooth arms of the chair. The glass at the end of the pipe moves in a circle. As it spins, something miraculous happens. The centrifugal force takes hold. The glass, which is still molten and still soft, begins to be pulled outward by the rotation. The center of the spinning motion is at the pipe. The outer edges of the glass experience a force that pulls them away from the center, that stretches them outward, that shapes them into a circle. The spinning continues. The master glassblower increases the speed gradually. His body rotates faster. The pipe spins faster. The glass at the end of the pipe flattens further. The bulbous sphere that was beginning to form becomes flatter and rounder. A disc forms, a flat plane of glowing orange glass, rotating, shimmering, hypnotic to watch. The glass wants to form a disc under centrifugal force. The glass yields to the physics of rotation. The glass becomes what the rotation makes it. You watch the spinning glass and feel your own consciousness beginning to spiral with it. The rotation is mesmerizing. The glow is hypnotic. The rhythm of the spin is like a pulse, like a heartbeat, like something alive and breathing. The orange glow of the rotating glass seems to pulse with the rotation. Bright, darker, bright, darker. The illusion of pulsation is created by the rotation itself, by the way the light catches the edges of the spinning glass, by the way your eyes follow the motion and create patterns in what they see. The master glassblower continues to spin. His body moves with the motion. He is not fighting the glass. He is not forcing it. He is working with the natural laws of physics, allowing the rotation to do the work, allowing centrifugal force to be his tool. The glass, responding to forces that are as old as the universe itself, the force that keeps planets in orbit, the force that holds stars together through their own rotation, the glass responds to this ancient force and shapes itself accordingly. The spinning glass is now nearly flat. It is a disc, perhaps 8 inches across, glowing red-orange, rotating at a steady speed. The edges of the disc are slightly thicker than the center, a natural consequence of the way the glass has been pulled outward. The outer rim is about a 1/4 inch thick. The center is thinner, perhaps 1/8 of an inch. The entire disc is warm, glowing, alive with heat. The master glassblower slows the spin gradually. He brings the rotation to a stop. The pipe is motionless once again. The disc of glass rests on the end of the pipe, no longer spinning, no longer being pulled by centrifugal force, but it retains the shape that the rotation created. The glass has cooled slightly during the spinning process. The outer surface is now a darker red, almost brown in places. The interior is still bright orange, still soft, still malleable. The contrast between the cooled outer surface and the still hot interior is visible. The glass has layers, it has depth, it has dimension. Now comes the next step. The master glassblower reaches for his jacks. Jacks are metal tongs, specially designed tools that glassblowers use to shape and pinch their work. These particular jacks are made of iron, smooth and worn from use. The business end of the jacks is flat and wide, designed to grip the glass without tearing it, designed to shape it without damaging it. The handles are long, allowing the glassblower to work at a distance from the heat, allowing him to maintain control and safety. He grasps the jacks firmly. He opens them wide. The two metal plates that form the gripping surface separate, creating a gap. He positions the jacks over the disc of glass, directly above where the glass meets the pipe. The opening of the jacks is centered on the spot where the pipe enters the glass. This is where the neck of the goblet will form. This is where the stem will begin. He closes the jacks. The metal plates come together, gripping the glass. The impact is not violent. It is firm and controlled. The glass, still soft and hot, yields to the pressure. The area where the jack's grip begins to pinch inward. The wide disc of glass, which was uniform in thickness, now has a narrower section where the jacks have pinched it. A neck is forming. But this is not the end of the action. As the master glassblower holds the jacks in place, he begins to pull downward. He pulls steadily and carefully, applying pressure without jerking, without sudden movements. The glass, gripped by the jacks, begins to stretch. The section that the jacks are holding is pulled downward and becomes thinner and longer. The glass, responding to the pull, responding to the warmth that keeps it malleable, stretches like taffy. It flows downward. It becomes a stem. The pulling continues. The master glassblower extends his arms downward, stretching the glass further. The stem of the goblet becomes longer and longer. The glass flows. The material that was part of the wide disc is now part of the stem. The geometry has changed completely. What was a flat, wide object is now becoming a different shape entirely. The bulbous base that was created earlier remains at the top, attached to the stretching stem. The stem elongates beneath it, becoming thinner and longer with each pull. He stops the pull. The stem is now perhaps 4 inches long, perhaps 5. The thickness is uniform, a tapered line of orange glass connecting the bulbous base above to where it will eventually connect to the foot of the goblet. The outer surface of the stem is slightly darker than the interior, showing the temperature gradient, showing the way the glass cools from the outside in, showing the physical reality of heat and time and the way temperature moves through material. The master glassblower releases the jacks. The glass, no longer held, settles into its new shape. The stem, which has been pulled and stretched, holds its form. The muscle memory of the glass is being written by the work. The glass, which was once shapeless, which was once just sand, is becoming a goblet. The form is nearly complete, but the work is not yet finished. The master glassblower looks at the piece. He examines it. He assesses the temperature. The outer surface of the glass is now a dark red, cooling rapidly in the air of the hut, cooling as time passes and the heat radiates away. The interior of the stem is still orange, still warm, still soft enough to work with. But the time for working is limited. The glass is cooling. Soon it will be too stiff to shape further. The window of opportunity is closing. A decision is made. The glass is cooling too quickly. The outer surface is solidifying, becoming too rigid to work with easily. To continue with the finishing work, the piece must be reheated. The master glassblower must take the pipe, with the nearly complete goblet attached, and return it to the furnace. He must insert the piece into the glory hole, allowing the intense heat to warm the glass again, making it malleable again, preparing it for the final shaping. He stands from the chair, careful not to disturb the balance of the pipe. He walks slowly toward the furnace. The piece is still attached to the end of the pipe. The stem dangles below the base. The whole thing is an awkward shape now, no longer streamlined, no longer symmetrical. But this awkwardness is temporary. This awkwardness will be corrected by the next phase of work. He approaches the glory hole. The opening in the front of the furnace beckons. The heat that pours from it is intense, more intense than you remember, as if the furnace has grown hotter since the last time you looked at it. The light that comes from the opening is almost blinding. The orange-yellow glow of the molten glass inside is visible through the opening. The heat radiating outward is a physical force, pushing against him, trying to keep him at a distance. But he steps forward anyway. The end of the pipe, with the goblet piece attached, enters the glory hole. The moment it enters the heat, the glass responds. The dark red outer surface begins to glow again. The color brightens. The surface that had been cooling begins to be reheated. The molecules of glass that had been beginning to solidify, beginning to lock into their positions, are given energy again. They begin to vibrate faster. They begin to move. The stiffness begins to yield. The glass begins to become soft again. The heating continues. As the goblet piece sits in the heat of the furnace, as the intense radiation from the fire below washes over it and into it, the glass throughout the piece begins to reach a uniform temperature. The cooler outer surface warms. The warm inner core remains warm. The entire piece reaches a state of consistent heat. The glass becomes uniformly soft, uniformly malleable, uniformly ready for the next work. The master glassblower holds the piece steady in the heat. There is a moment of stillness here, a moment of waiting. The furnace roars, the fire burns, the glass heats, and there is nothing to do but wait. There is nothing to do but trust that the process is working, that the heat is penetrating, that the glass is reaching the state of readiness. And then he withdraws the piece. The pipe is pulled back out of the glory hole. The goblet piece emerges, glowing bright orange again, soft and hot and ready. The outer surface is bright orange, almost yellow at the brightest points where the heat was most intense. The glass is alive again. The glass is ready again. The master glassblower turns from the furnace. He does not return to the chair. Instead, he moves to a different station. This is where the next phase of work will happen. This is where the final shaping will occur. Here, on a work table, there is another iron rod. This rod is called the pontle. It is different from the blowing pipe. It is solid, not hollow. It is thick and strong, designed to support the piece during the final stages of work. The master glassblower positions the pontle. The hot end of the pontle is brought into contact with the bottom of the goblet piece, with the foot that has not yet been formed, but is implied by the shape that has been created. The glass, hot and soft, bonds with the pontle. A small amount of glass from the foot flows and fuses with the glass at the end of the pontle. The connection is made. The goblet piece is now supported by the pontle rod instead of the blowing pipe. This is a critical moment. The goblet piece is still attached to the blowing pipe at the opening. It is now also attached to the pontle at the bottom. It is suspended between two rods, held at both ends, with nowhere to go. The next action will be to separate the piece from the blowing pipe, to break the connection at the opening. This is a delicate operation. The glass is soft. If too much force is applied, the entire piece could shatter. If too little force is applied, the connection will not break and the work will fail. The master glassblower holds both the blowing pipe and the pontle steady. He rotates the pontle slowly. The goblet piece, suspended between the two rods, undergoes a twisting motion. The glass at the connection point, where the opening meets the blowing pipe, experiences stress. The stress increases as the rotation continues. The glass, which is soft and hot, begins to give way to the stress. A fracture line forms at the connection. A crack appears in the glass where the opening meets the pipe. The rotation continues. The crack deepens. The fracture propagates around the circumference of the connection point. The glass is beginning to separate. The connection, which was solid moments before, is becoming compromised. The piece is nearly free. One more rotation, one more twist, and then, with a small cracking sound that is barely audible over the roar of the furnace, the connection breaks completely. The blowing pipe comes free. The goblet piece is now attached only to the pontle rod. The opening, which was the connection point, is still very hard, still somewhat soft. The edge of the opening is irregular where the break occurred. But this is exactly what the master glassblower wants. This ragged edge will be refined in the next phase of work. The piece is now ready for the final shaping. He sets the blowing pipe aside. It will be used again, many times. But for now, its work on this particular piece is complete. The pontil rod becomes the focus of attention. The master glassblower grips the pontil and brings the piece to the chair again. He sits. He positions the pontil across the arms of the chair in the same way he positioned the blowing pipe earlier. The goblet piece is balanced on the arms, supported by the pontil, ready for the final work. And now he spins the piece again. The rotation begins slowly. The master glassblower's body rotates. The pontil rod rotates with it. The goblet piece, suspended from the end of the pontil, begins to spin. The base of the goblet, the bulbous form that was created earlier, rotates. The stem rotates. The opening rotates. The speed increases. The master glassblower builds up the rotation gradually. His body moves faster. The pontil spins faster. The goblet piece rotates faster and faster. As it rotates, something begins to happen at the opening. The heat of the glass and the force of the rotation work together. The edges of the opening, which were ragged and irregular from the break, begin to smooth out. The centrifugal force pulls the edges outward. The edges of the opening begin to rise. They begin to flare outward, expanding away from the center of rotation. The opening grows wider. The master glassblower continues to spin, rotating faster and faster. The centrifugal force becomes stronger. The edges of the opening are pulled outward more forcefully. The opening that was perhaps 2 inches across is now 3 inches across, now 4 inches across. The edges continue to rise and flare. The glass at the opening is being stretched thin by the combination of heat and rotation and centrifugal force. The opening becomes a perfect circle. The edges are smooth and regular, shaped by the symmetrical forces of rotation. The rim of the goblet, which is the edge of the opening, is now a perfect circle of glowing orange glass. The rim is thin, delicate, beautiful in its precision. The opening of the goblet is now the perfect size for drinking from, for holding the glass to the lips, for the ritual of taking a sip. But the master glassblower continues to spin. He spins faster still. The centrifugal force increases. The edges of the opening continue to flare outward and upward. The rim rises. It becomes more pronounced. It becomes more pronounced still. The rim is now a significant feature of the goblet, rising noticeably above the level of the base. The spinning continues. The rim rises higher. It flares further. It becomes a distinctive feature, a beautiful curved edge that catches the light, that reflects the glow of the furnace, that marks this piece as a creation of skill and intention. The spinning reaches a peak. The master glassblower, sensing that the work is complete, sensing that the piece has been shaped into its final form, slows the rotation. His body moves more slowly. The pontil rod spins more slowly. The goblet piece, which has been rotating at high speed, gradually comes to a stop. The rotation ceases. The piece is motionless once again. The goblet is complete. The base is bulbous and rounded, slightly flattened from the centrifugal spinning that shaped it. The stem is long and elegant, slightly tapered, connecting the base to where the foot will be. The opening is circular and perfect, with a flared rim that rises above the base. The color is a deep red-orange, telling the story of the heating and cooling that has shaped it, telling the story of the work that has gone into its creation. The glass is still hot. The glass is still glowing. The glass is still not yet fully solidified, though it is cooling now, cooling into its final form. The master glassblower holds the pontil steady. He admires his work. He examines it from different angles, looking at the shape, assessing the thickness of the walls, checking for any flaws or imperfections that might need to be addressed. The piece is good. The piece is beautiful. The piece is a goblet, and it is ready for the next phase. It is ready to be set aside and allowed to cool. But this cooling cannot happen quickly. The goblet is made of glass that has been stressed and shaped and formed through intense heat and mechanical manipulation. If it cools too quickly, if the outer surface hardens while the interior is still hot, the stress inside the glass will become too great. The glass will crack. The goblet will shatter. All the work will be destroyed in an instant. To prevent this, the goblet must cool slowly. The master glassblower stands from the chair, careful to keep the pontle steady. He walks toward a special oven. This is not the furnace. This is the annealing oven, a separate structure designed specifically for the purpose of cooling newly made glass pieces at the correct rate. The annealing oven is warm, much warmer than the outside air, but much cooler than the furnace. It is the perfect environment for glass that is transitioning from molten to solid, for glass that needs to cool at a controlled rate to maintain its integrity. He opens the door to the annealing oven. The interior is glowing with warmth. There are shelves inside, and on those shelves are other pieces in the process of cooling. There are vessels and bowls and fragments of work, all in the process of annealing, all being cooled at the correct rate, all being protected from shattering by the controlled environment of the oven. The master glassblower positions the pontle with the goblet piece on one of the shelves. He places it carefully, making sure it is balanced, making sure it will not tip or move. The goblet, which moments ago was being spun and shaped and transformed, is now at rest. It is at rest in the warmth of the annealing oven, where it will remain for days. Days of slow cooling. Days of stress reduction. Days of the glass reaching equilibrium, reaching a stable state where the internal and external temperatures are equal, where the stresses have dissipated, where the piece has become solid and safe and permanent. He closes the door to the oven. The goblet is safe now. The goblet will cool slowly. The goblet will be preserved. When it emerges from the oven in days to come, when the pontle is removed and the foot is finished, the goblet will be complete. It will be beautiful. It will be functional. It will be ready to hold wine or water or whatever liquid someone chooses to place within it. It will last for years. It will last for decades. It may last for centuries. The master glassblower turns back toward the furnace. The work is not finished. The furnace is never finished. There is always more glass to shape. There are always more pieces to create. The cycle is endless. The fire is eternal. The work continues. He looks at the clock on the wall. It is late. The sun has long since set outside. The forest is dark, but the glassblower's workshop is still bright with the light of the furnace. The roar of the fire is constant. The heat is constant. The work continues through the night, as it always does. The furnace never sleeps. The furnace never cools. The furnace must be fed with fuel constantly, continuously, endlessly. The master glassblower moves to the woodpile. Stacks of wood are piled in the corner of the hut, cordwood cut to the right size, dried to the right moisture content. The wood is fuel for the furnace. The wood is the energy that keeps the fire burning. Without the wood, the fire would die. Without the fire, the glass would cool and solidify and become useless. He gathers an armful of wood. The pieces are rough in his hands, weathered and worn. Some of them have ash on them from previous batches. Some of them are relatively clean, but all of them will burn. All of them will feed the furnace. All of them will contribute their energy to the endless task of keeping the glass molten and workable. He approaches the furnace. There is an opening at the bottom of the furnace, a fire door, a place where fuel is inserted. He opens this door. The roar of the furnace intensifies. The glow that emanates from the opening is blinding. The heat is overwhelming. But the master glassblower is not afraid. He is not hesitant. He has done this thousands of times. His body knows how to protect itself. His instincts guide him. He inserts the wood. The logs tumble into the fire chamber. They land on the burning coals below. For a moment, they do not ignite. They simply rest on the coals, absorbing heat, beginning the process of becoming fuel. And then the heat reaches the point where combustion begins. The wood catches fire. Flames bloom around it. The wood begins to burn. It begins to contribute its energy to the furnace, to the fire, to the endless cycle of creation. The master glassblower closes the fire door. The roar of the furnace continues. The fire consumes the new wood. The temperature in the furnace remains constant, a balance between the energy being added by the burning wood and the energy being lost through the opening of the glory hole, through the walls of the furnace, through the endless radiation of heat into the workshop. This is the rhythm of the night. Every hour, more wood must be added. Every hour, the furnace must be fed. Every hour, the cycle continues. The master glassblower has learned to work in rhythm with this cycle. He learns to shape his work around the feeding schedule. He learns to have a new piece ready to be gathered and blown just as he is finished feeding the fire. He learns to use the time efficiently, to waste nothing, to maintain the constant productivity that keeps the workshop alive. The night deepens. The storm that was raging when you arrived has passed. You can feel it in the air. The sound of the wind through the trees has lessened. The rain has stopped. The thunder is distant now, moving away toward the horizon. The storm is leaving the forest, moving on to rage in other places over other lands. The forest outside is becoming quiet. The rain is dripping from the trees now, dripping from the leaves, running down the trunks, soaking into the ground. The forest is wet and still and quiet. But inside the workshop, there is no quiet. The furnace roars, the flames roar, the glass sings. The master glassblower works. His hands shape the glass. His breath fills it with form. His knowledge guides the process. The workshop is alive with activity. The workshop is bright with light. The workshop is warm with heat. The workshop is the opposite of the quiet forest outside. Hours pass. One piece is finished and set aside to cool. Another piece is begun. The cycle continues. The master glassblower gathers glass. He blows, he shapes, he marvels, he spins. He uses the jacks. He reheats. He finishes the rim. He sets the piece aside. And then he gathers glass again. The cycle repeats. The supply of molten glass in the crucibles seems endless. As glass is gathered and shaped and removed, more glass is added to the crucible from the supply of prepared raw materials. The sand and ash and lime are added. They melt. They become glass. They join with the existing molten mass. The supply remains constant. The furnace never empties. The work never stops. You begin to feel the rhythm. The rhythm of the feeding, the rhythm of the work, the rhythm of the gathering and blowing and shaping, the rhythm of the heat and the light and the roar. The rhythm becomes hypnotic. The rhythm becomes meditation. The rhythm becomes the only thing that matters. The rhythm is life. The rhythm is the heartbeat of the workshop. Other workers appear in the shadows of the hut. You did not notice when they arrived. They were simply always here, part of the landscape, part of the background. But now, as your eyes adjust to the patterns of work and light, you see them. There is a young man, perhaps in his 20s, who tends the fire. He feeds the furnace on a schedule that he seems to understand through instinct or through long practice. There is an older woman who tends the raw materials. She measures and mixes the sand and ash and lime, preparing the batches that will be added to the crucibles. There is another young man who tends the annealing oven, checking the temperature, ensuring that the pieces cooling inside are at the correct heat level. These are the helpers. These are the people who support the master glassblower, who keep the furnace alive, who keep the work flowing. They work in silence, communicating through glances and gestures. They understand their roles. They have done this many times. They are part of the machine that is the workshop. The night deepens further. The forest outside becomes darker and darker. The sky, which was dark with storm clouds, is now dark with the deep darkness of night. There are no lights outside. There are no electric lamps, no street lights, no illumination of any kind beyond the light from the workshop itself. The workshop glows in the darkness like a beacon. The light spills out from the cracks in the walls, from the open door, from every opening. The workshop is a beacon of light in the darkness of the forest. Inside the workshop, there is no sense of time. There is no sense of how many hours have passed. The furnace has been roaring continuously. The work has been continuous, one piece after another, the cycle repeating, the rhythm continuing. Your consciousness has settled into the rhythm. Your thoughts have become peaceful. Your awareness has become focused on the present moment, on the sight of the glowing glass, on the sound of the furnace, on the feel of the heat. The master glassblower seems to be tiring now. His movements, which were precise and efficient earlier, are becoming slightly more languid. There is still precision, still skill, still the knowledge that guides his hands. But there is also a sense of winding down, of approaching the end of the night shift, of preparing for rest. He works on one more piece. He gathers, he blows, he shapes, he marvels, he spins, he finishes the rim, he sets the piece in the annealing oven. This is the last piece of the night, though you do not know this consciously. Somehow you sense it. The rhythm that has been constant is about to change. The cycle that has been repeating is about to pause. The master glassblower sets his tools aside. He stands for a moment, looking at the furnace. The roar continues. The fire continues. The heat continues. But the work has stopped. The immediate work has been completed. There are pieces cooling in the annealing oven. There are pieces that will emerge in days and be completed. But the work of shaping and blowing is done for now. He moves toward the back of the workshop. There are sleeping areas here, simple spaces where the workers rest when they are not working. There are straw mats on the ground, laid out in a circle around a lower temperature area of the hut. The heat is still significant here, much warmer than outside, but cooler than near the furnace. This is a comfortable temperature for sleeping, especially after hours of working near the intense heat of the furnace. The cold of the outside world is kept at bay by the constant warmth from the furnace. The workers are safe and warm. The master glassblower lies down on one of the mats. He stretches out, his body finally able to rest after hours of precise work. His muscles relax. His breathing slows. His eyes begin to close. Around him, the other workers do the same. They lie down on their mats. They rest their bodies. They prepare to sleep, knowing that in a few hours they will wake and the work will begin again. The cycle will repeat. The furnace will still be roaring. The glass will still be waiting. The roar of the furnace becomes white noise. After hours of hearing it, your consciousness has learned to absorb it without processing it. The roar is present, constant, eternal, but it no longer demands your attention. It has become the sound of safety. It has become the sound of warmth. It has become the sound of the world continuing, of the work continuing, of life continuing. You feel your own eyes beginning to close. The heat of the workshop, the warmth of the straw mat beneath you, the knowledge that the work is safe and secure, that the glass is cooling at the correct rate, that nothing requires your attention or your concern at this moment. Everything is well. Everything is as it should be. Everything is secure. The roar of the furnace continues. The flames continue to burn. The glass continues to cool. The workshop continues to be a beacon of warmth in the cold forest. The work is done. The night shift is complete. The pieces are resting in the annealing oven, cooling slowly, becoming solid and safe and permanent. You are safe. The workshop is safe. The glass is safe. The furnace is eternal. The cycle continues. Sleep now. Let your consciousness settle into the warmth and the sound and the feeling of safety that surrounds you. The work is done. The glass is cooling. The furnace will burn through the night, and when morning comes, the cycle will continue. But for now, for this moment, there is only rest. There is only warmth. There is only the sound of the furnace, a constant reminder that you are safe, that you are protected, that the world continues. And as the new glass cools in the annealing oven and the furnace roars on through the night, the workshop remains a beacon of warmth in the dark forest. The work is done, and you are safe. Sleep well.